Well, hello everyone. Welcome to Wine, Women, and Words. I'm Michelle, and with me, of course, is Diana.
Hello.
And tonight we have another Michelle on the show. We have Michelle Manu on the show with us. Thank you so much for joining us, Michelle. It's a pleasure
Thank,
having you.
thank you for having me.
So, and I love whenever there's another Michelle. I mean, I see your name on the screen, so it kind of takes the surprise out of it. But I always go, "Are you a 1L or a 2L, Michelle?" Because I am a 1L.
I'm a two. Yeah.
But
I
so
think
we have the double L and the single L.
there you go. I think we're part of the Beatles era, right?
Mhm. Exactly. So you kind of do everything. I mean, I was talking to Diana about how to introduce you and how the two of you got connected because you two know each other before Wine, Women, and Words.
Yeah.
Long before Wine, Women, and Words. Before I think I met Michelle. We'll go with Michelle 2 for Michelle Manu and Michelle 1 for Wine, Women, and Words, Michelle. But I think I met Michelle 2 before I met Michelle 1.
Really?
Oh, actually, no, I take that back. No, I did meet you first.
Because I came to a few OCPA meetings.
Yeah, because
I
became a paralegal after we became friends. So yeah, okay. But it was right around that time. Yeah.
Now, I got on my Facebook memories, I got a post, I think today or yesterday, from you going, "I miss my work buddy." And that was right around the time that you left me rudely.
Abruptly.
Yes.
Because I got a real job.
And I had no one to talk to anymore.
I really hate that word real job. I mean, it's like, I'll get into that being a multi-hyphenated performer, I would say. Some people just don't value certain things that are really important to us.
I get that.
It is real.
It is.
Not, to them, it's not real. So anyway.
Yeah, I get that. Because I totally get that because I think being a performer is very much a real job because we'll get into all the work that you do just in the performance aspect. The podcast is a second job for me.
Yeah.
I don't call that job that Michelle and I had as a real job because we worked in a call center. And for people who own timeshares, and we made reservations for them. And literally all we did was answer the phones, make reservations, and read books and bullshit the whole time we worked, like we do on this show.
Very, very dedicated employees.
Oh, totally. And it was kind of a dead end. Kind of you go in, you check your soul at the door, get your paycheck, and and those I don't really consider to be. To me, it wasn't a real job. To me.
It wasn't our forever jobs. Like neither of us, we both knew that we weren't going to be there forever. Well, but it got us to the next stage.
Yeah, exactly. Very good. Yeah.
So, Diana, I see you drinking out of a very lovely mug.
I am. It is our brand new Wine, Women, and Words mug, available on our Wine, Women, and Words Etsy page.
Ooh.
So we have a shop and we are selling these mugs. I just got it in. And yes, my friends, I am drinking my wine out of it because I can, because this is what adults do.
So I know, Michelle, we kind of like chased you into your house right before this interview. So you probably haven't had a chance to pour yourself a glass of wine.
I haven't.
But Diana.
Should I go do that?
I mean, we're gonna go do that.
Totally We'll do our round robin while you do that.
That sounds great. I'll be right back.
Okay, go get it. So I am drinking Wall of Sound still. I'm about halfway through the bottle, and it's weird. I like it more now than when I first opened it. I've rarely had a wine that I've done that with. What are you drinking tonight?
I feel so, even though we were talking about not having it all together right before we went on air, I feel so together tonight because my Wink wine arrived and I have my
oh, you got the Admiral one, the Rogue Admiral.
I
How do you
got
like
the
that?
Rogue Admiral. I really like it. It's very smooth. I like the story. So I like reading the labels. Um, and the back of this says uh, it's from the Limestone Coast in Australia. And it says, dubbed the shipwreck coast after many a vessel failed to navigate its savage shores, South Australia's limestone coastline has always been a fearful yet fertile land. Blah, 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 on to describe the wine. But if you look very closely, right there, it says, in memoriam of Captain Smith, who came to grief at Cape Jafsa, July 1840. So I want to look up who Captain Smith is.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be a couple Captain Smiths.
Yeah, it's not really a unique
But
name.
that is such a good wine, though. I really, really like that wine.
So with these chilly Chicago nights that we're having, it's perfect. We're officially in red season, I feel like.
Yes, I agree with you. Even though, like, in California, we're down to mid-70s at that. It's
like you almost have to bust out the scarves.
I totally need to bust out the scarves. I have to wear my long sleeve shirts now. Guys, it's getting cold. I'm drinking my wine out of a mug.
I have to wear thermal clothes underneath my clothes now. That's what I'm looking for.
Well, anyways, if you guys want to enjoy wine like Michelle and I do, if you want to try out Wall of Sound to see what all the fuss is about, or if you want to learn about Rogue Admiral, like Michelle's drinking, go to trywink.com/www podcast, and you can get $22 off your first order of wine.
Yes, and definitely go check that out because, I mean, who doesn't like wine mail?
Right?
Michelle's back.
Yes. And what wine did you pour for yourself?
I poured a nice Merlot.
Ooh. I love that Merlots are making a comeback. They were kind of down for a while. They were kind of, the movie Sideways single-handedly ruined the Merlot market for quite a while. Everybody didn't want to be seen as that person buying Merlot.
I never saw that movie. And my mom loved it because that came out right around the time she was starting to get into wine, like really into wine. Now she's planning a trip up like the wine trail on the east. There's a wine trail on the East Coast.
Oh,
like it's serious, you guys. But yeah, I guess I have to watch Sideways eventually.
Yes, you will need to watch it. But I like that it's making a comeback, and it's it's a really good type of wine, I think, because it's got lots of different notes in it.
I poured a really small glass for myself, so don't mind me.
Don't worry, no apologies. So Michelle, let's get into all the stuff that you do, because sometimes it's so hard to keep track of what you do when I see you're doing all sorts of different stuff online, and it's like, oh, she's doing this now, and oh wow, she's doing that. You've got, let's see here if I have it down, and correct me, fill in the blanks. So you do, it's a Hawaiian form of hula or martial arts.
Correct.
And you do self-defense classes.
Right.
You've got a book that's going to be coming out at some point in the future. Yes. And you're doing a movie. So what else? Didn't you won a contest for tattoos? Or second place in a contest.
Second place, but only in my group. So, I don't know. Let's just start there. I really am naturally born an introvert, if you can believe that. People are probably saying, yeah, right. No, I've actually had to grow a lot in the last 4 years. I really, I don't know. I think social media and just society in general can be really, they love you, like, for a little bit. And one little thing, and they'll just completely shred you. But then there's also those that are insecure within themselves and they don't like the attention they think you're getting. They're not really actually looking at what you're the spokesperson for. So when I got approached for the Inked Magazine's Cover Girl contest, I was like, oh no, never, no, I'm not. It's cultural. The woman that actually, I wanted a woman to tattoo me, and I wanted her to be white. And she's tattooed over 1,000 pieces. And she's lived everywhere in the South Pacific. For a while, she was the only white woman teaching at the University of Hawaii's Hawaiian Studies bachelor program. And of course, she's come under fire too, right? That's supposed to be tools of the trade for the male only, which is not true. We have, you know, a lot of things in ancient times, they were burned. And the woman was written by a visiting scholar that had a different perception of women and their importance in the culture, which was totally different than what it was in at least the Hawaiian culture. And so I wanted her to tattoo me. So I thought about it, and the reward was $25,000. And I thought, okay, you just suck it up and put yourself out there. It's worth it for the cause, because everything I do is self-funded. And there's 3 books that need to come out. And, you know, my teacher is getting older, and I don't anticipate him being here much longer on Mother Earth. And to do the work, you know, to perpetuate the legacy, and to honor him, because I'm the only woman he's taught since like 1983. So to have been with him for 20 years, and for him to, there's something they call where men can't do what women can do, and women can't do what men can do, and they had to eat separately, and things like that in the culture after the visitors came. He breached that, what they would call a gender kapu, a forbidden gender separation, and allowed me to train with the men, and made it even harder for me than the men. And so in honoring that, I thought, you can deal with whatever this, the public has to say about what are you doing. It's to honor the artwork, to honor the tattooist, historian, anthropologist who did the artwork, to also further me being a spokesperson for what I'm trying to do with the divine feminine, and returning to some of what was, our values in the ancient times, and mixing them now with who we are, and reminding us of who we are, and reminding us of the female power and our foremothers that fought before us, or maintained and ruled gracefully and fairly and powerfully. And I think when we really connect with that, something changes in us. And that's really the mission that I feel like I've been prepared for my entire life. So it was worth it. And I didn't end up winning, because I could have taken some very provocative, almost pornographic photographs, but that is not what the message is. I'm not interested in doing that. And I would be a sellout to everything that I absolutely live, talk, walk, and stand for and teach. So second place is fine. I didn't win anything, but the support was tremendous. And I'll never forget it. I'm completely overwhelmed. But I definitely did have CoverGirl a burnout. I just didn't. I was tired of posting. I was tired of Halloween. I was just tired. So yeah.
I don't blame you for that. Yeah. But it was a gorgeous photo. Absolutely beautiful photo. The full piece, because it's your full back, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, and it's a beautiful photo and a beautiful piece. So. Thank you. I voted for you.
Thank you.
So then let's touch base, since you talked about the martial arts, and it's not, when we think of martial arts, we think of oftentimes kung fu or karate. This one's a bit more unique. Tell us a bit more about this.
I guess the easiest way to describe it would be after the visitors came to Hawaii, the art was banned and was no longer allowed to be showed in public, because they felt it was too vicious. So it went underground and was hidden in the hula. But before that, there's 3 types of hulas. So the ha'a, and that's for the warriors, where they used to practice. I know the mere meaning of it means to dance with bent knees, but I mean, there's more to it than that. That's what historians will tell you. I really think they were not just summoning kind of the metaphysical, but also practicing their techniques with rhythm movement. Then there's the kahiko, which is more traditional, absolutely traditional, ancient, very honoring, and used for more rituals and ceremonies. And then there's the awana, which you see the more contemporary, touristy type of hula. So if you take the ancient, like the kahiko, and you show the animals and the nature elements within that dance, that's non-contact. However, you can transfer those same movements and that same energy, that same breath to make contact, and they actually become self-defense at that point. And beyond that is the combat, where they were protecting the land, the people, and warring among themselves and everyone else. So you wouldn't think that a land that now is portrayed as being Mai Tais and coconut bras, to be somewhere that was really quite vicious, but it was. They used pohaku stones. They sharpened them as weapons. They had a slingshot. Beautiful, and it takes a lot to master that. But they had the longer weapons too. The pike was 15 feet, all the way down to the handheld, smaller clubs. But they used whalebone and they used shark teeth. So, they used what was around them, and that's really what the art is. It's progressed over the years, obviously, as life on the islands changed, and they got enthralled with the metal weapons that were brought, and the Christianity that was also brought, and they started to shift, and the role of the martial art changed too. And in 1974, the Bishop Museum declared it as a dead art, but it's not dead. There are very few practitioners, but it's still very much alive. And I think, there's more and more interest in it. Not everything is showed. There's the public lua that I teach, but there are secret techniques that one I'll definitely take to my grave, the one that I've been shown. But it's truly, it becomes like first nature. It's not something you have to think about. So it's not just kick punch. It's actually the metaphysical too. Where are you deficient? Have you checked every realm of yourself, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, relationally, professionally, the vocation aspect? Are you neglectful of one of those? Are you even aware of it? Because all of it was a warrior's path. And they were, adept in chiropractic and also herbs and medicine and fishing, and you name it, they were well-rounded. And I think that's really what I try to promote, because I think especially women, we have been raised to care for everyone else. We'll show up to a Susan G. Komen walk because our sister, our mom, our aunt, our cousin, our niece, they've suffered. But if we suffered, would we go? Probably not. We're always supporting another woman. So to get the women in the 3-hour workshop is really it's transforming, and it's clear that they benefit from it. Yeah.
I know I want to do the 3-hour workshop at some point. It's on my to-do list of things to do.
You're welcome.
Come to Chicago and host a workshop here.
I was there last year, yeah, and the year before. So I didn't go to Chicago this year.
You need a 2019 workshop.
I should. Yeah.
I'll bring my group of moms, and we'll have like a mom day.
Well, the Chicago women, they're pretty tough. It's pretty interesting. They really, at first, are like, oh, this is lame, stupid, whatever. But then, I always ask, just what if? Just ask yourself, what if you can do this? What if this changes you? What if this heals you? And then they really get into it. And there are some hard hitters out there. It's, it's funny because you think of California, right? And everyone's blah, 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 blah. And that's it. If it looks like it's going to get physical, people usually walk away in certain neighborhoods. I can tell you. But like Chicago, they blah, 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 and they'll back it up. They're like, they're in there. So tough women out there.
Absolutely.
I'm still the one who would be like, okay, guys, let's just take it down a notch. But I mean, I guess in certain situations, I was actually talking about this the other day with my mom, because we were talking like, what if, I ever find myself in a situation where I actually need to defend myself or my kids, Diana knows I'm like the least confrontational person in the world, but she's like, I guarantee you, if your kids were in danger, you would find an inner strength that would make you a threat to someone else.
You would. Yeah. You can live. I'm telling you, as mothers, something changes. It's like you summon all of your ancestry, and they just,
Although I have seen it like on a low scale level when another kid is mean to my kid. Oh my like, excuse me, where is your mother? Why are they not paying attention? Didn't she teach you to share? My kid had that my kid had that toy train first.
Yes, yeah. Yeah.
So I guess I could probably see it coming out if it needed to. But I think it's really interesting you were talking about how there are, there's the non-combat form, there's the dance form, and I think I don't know a lot. I mean, full disclosure, the extent of my knowledge about the Hawaiian or the Polynesian Pacific Island culture comes from this bonus features of Moana that I've watched probably about 50 times. I mean, there's some very interesting interviews on the bonus features. But it's really interesting that they all talked about, how dance and music and singing, it's all very deeply intertwined in their culture. But it's interesting how you take that part of the culture and you tweak it, and then it becomes the combat and the defense and the preservation of the culture also.
Yeah, and yourself, definitely, and your loved ones, It's history, and I don't think there can be some words, I'm sure, from some elders that shouldn't be showing it, or how do we know that that's true? But it's in writing, we have it in history, and it's my job. If I'm the only one that can do this right now, then it's my job to show it. So it's empowering. I mean, even if you're not of that ethnicity, it's empowering, period. Because all women have been forced to take dance. I mean, I was forced. I'm a ballet dropout at the age of 4. I had like the worst Russian teacher with this crazy cane, and I'm like, I'm never going back to we were all for girl activity. You go do that, but I really think there's no such thing as a girl activity. I mean, in reality, we're all spirits, we're just here in this lifetime as the gender we are in at this moment. But I love being a woman, and I love that when someone sees the combat art and it's someone a male that actually is trained in another art can say like, oh crap, because it shifts their perception of women entirely. Because if he thinks that he might get worked by me, then he has to, that I would hope would permeate onto every other woman of maybe I'm underestimating, maybe these women can actually do, because there's guys that are smaller than me that, are really great fighters. Why is it any different because I don't have a penis? There is no difference. It's physics. It's physics. Penis.
I love that. It's like the penis game when you go somewhere like on a mountain. My sister and I played that game once to see who can be the chicken who can say penis the loudest. And we were hiking and we were on a mountain and we play that game, and both of us are very stubborn, and one of us ended up screaming it. I honestly don't remember which one. But yeah, and I love that because women are so inherently tough and we're not given the credit for it. I watch American Ninja Warrior. And
oh my God, those women are insane.
I actually got mad because they changed it last season so that the women had an easier time. They didn't have the same time. They were judged differently from the men. And I was really upset by that because I loved watching the women compete right alongside the men.
Yeah.
And you had women who could compete at their level and better than them. And I think that was so impactful for people in general to watch.
I think us women are quite strategic. So it's inherent. I think that when we look at something and we're going to tackle it, not literally, but a project or a situation or something at work or with our kids, or driving, for heaven's sakes, or shopping, how to hold the bags. I mean, we're so strategic and it's so embedded in us. I think that makes us great fighters. I think it makes us great leaders. I think that, the unhealthy feminine that aren't aware of the power that they have and embracing that, I think that's why there's the infighting, the women against the women and all of that. I mean, if we could just celebrate each other for who we are and what we have to contribute, we're so much stronger together than fighting all the time, you know?
And I'm seeing less and less of the women fighting women. I think in our generations, we're seeing less of it because we're coming together. Because you and I first met through the Orange County Paralegal Association. And of course, there's always going to be drama in any kind of community organization, regardless of what genders are in there. There is going to be infighting.
Absolutely.
But I think just, I don't see the cutthroat backstabbing among women like it's portrayed in media.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
but at the same time, I've sustained a female boss, and that was not fun. So, a female bully boss. So, it does happen sometimes. And I think, oh, how ironic is this? I'm a women's empowerment teacher. I get to teach all over the world, helping women wake up to who they are and what they could be if they so choose, to let go of pain and heal and to move forward. And yet I come back to a workplace where I'm completely harassed and set up, and it's like it's just so, the irony of it all. It's truly amazing. So it happens once in a while, and it's definitely not desirable at all.
No, it's not. I remember I had one too, and thankfully she found out I was searching for another job, so I got fired. So that kind of resolved itself.
Oh, good.
Yeah, because I was like, I can't take this bullshit without getting in trouble for assault, because I have a temper. And one of the things I want to talk about, and you touched base on this, was the cultural aspect of it, and I want to explore that a little bit more because I know it's something that Michelle and I work on, and especially me that I work on with the Italian culture. I make a joke that there's more to being Italian than just Chef Boyardee in the mafia. Because that's really, when people think of being Italian, those are the two things that they come together, and so few Italians know Italian history. And part of it is, one thing that my father, he's going to be on the show next month.
Good.
Yeah, and he's got a book that's out, and one of the things that he talks about is that it's a very racist concept within the U.S. that in order to be accepted by the majority, you have to give up part of your cultural image. You have to be white, quote unquote.
Whitewashed.
Yes, whitewashed, basically. And the Italians went through a lot during World War II, being enemy aliens in the country, and we gave up a lot of our cultural identity in the 1940s in order to be accepted as Americans. And, and Hawaiians, I feel that you guys went through a lot of a similar process. And there's a bastardization of the Hawaiian.
And prostitution. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was just completely desecrated, and the way of life that they knew. I mean, the missionaries came in and called them heathens and pagans, and dirty, and all the things that they could use, and some islanders started to believe that about their ancestry. They quickly, and you see this now, to me, it's a very fine line to walk. Actually, to me, it's not. But for these people, how they can dip into the culture of my ancestors, and then, Jesus Christ, everything on the other side. And I don't know how they do that so eloquently, but they do it. I mean, it's fascinating to me. And that's on the religious side, but even just the way they treated each other. I mean, you were put to death if you harm someone psychically. I mean, if you were playing mind games or being toxic, there were ramifications for that, because especially with children, and unfortunately now the islands are filled with child abuse and spousal abuse. They're completely opposite of what our ancestry stood for. Let me just put it this way quickly. A child is born. one of the women or men in the family is assigned to the bodily functions of the child. Mm-hmm. They will take those bodily liquids, and they would be put in a specific field and buried. If anything befell on the child, they became ill, they were not acting right, or it was deemed that there was some darkness around the child, they would first check that field to make sure no one was able to take the bodily liquids and perform any sort of rituals on the child to harm the child. If it was found that the field was actually tampered with, that family member that's in charge of guarding that field, essentially that child's spiritual well-being, then that family member would be put to death.
Wow.
So you think of that severe behavior and knowing the responsibilities that everyone had in the culture and everyone was respected, and the seriousness of it, not to harm the next generation, the children. And now, I mean, I grew up in that era. Mm-hmm. Why do you think I am such a great fighter? Mm-hmm. Because it started very young. Mm-hmm. Like I said, we all have our stories. So it, going through healing all of that, and reconstructing the past and going through it and understanding, there's nothing I could have done to stop it. There was nothing that I could have foreseen it coming. There's nothing I could have done. It was meant to happen. So taking all of that and now transmuting that into being able to help other women is really why I probably went through all of that, is to end up here right now on your show, mm-hmm. talking about this and being able to do the work that I do. So, the culture, I wish, would remember who they are. Mm-hmm. And how everything was truly perfect, mm-hmm. The way it was. So. Mm-hmm.
Has there been any kind of a resurgence of the interest for younger generations to learn more about their ancestry now?
Yes. But we've got some government entities there because, of course, a lot, if not all, feel that the U.S. is wrongfully occupying Hawaii. They really wanted to take the land, the islands, so they could test their bombs on them. That was the whole reason why they wanted Hawaii. Plus, it's the buffer between Japan and mainland, mm-hmm. The continent. So I see a lot, but it's not in traditional schooling. Traditional schooling has been Christianized and watered down. And, a lot of stories are perpetuating what missionaries wanted us to believe or wanted us to know. Or, the word of mouth, the folklore, that talk story, they call it. But there are a lot of the youth that are there is a resurgence. And it's amazing. It's powerful. It's truly powerful. And they're coming about it in different ways. They're creating with art too. They're not just screaming and yelling at a picket line. They are blessed and energetically in the sense of being able to passionately portray. It's almost as if the ancestors are coming through them now. This new generation is just beautiful to watch. Great question, Michelle.
Well, I know that there are some other cultures, I mean, probably not to that extent, but I mean, even I heard a couple of years ago, Ireland, for example, I read somewhere that they're now trying to reintroduce Gaelic into, maybe they have. It was a couple of years ago that I heard it. They're trying to reintroduce and teach mm-hmm. newer generations of children their language, because it fell into disuse and it was getting forgotten. So they mm-hmm. wanted to resurrect it. So I think the newer generation, maybe our generation and younger, are starting to recognize the importance of preserving where they came from.
Yeah, and I think all of us have had enough, Mm-hmm. It's clearly not getting better, and we're not being true to who we are. So, and not that we need to totally identify with an ethnicity, but I think if you study it, you learn a lot about, maybe our parents thought it would be best, if they did this and to fit in. But I think we're at a place now, especially with social media and, all of this is just at our fingertips whenever we want it. We have so much more of a voice now, and it can reach so much farther. And I think, you know, we don't care as much. I think there was a persona I can see in my mom, you know, model actress, 5'10" Scandinavian woman, you know, she thought the camera was on her 24/7, you know, it's like, oh, no, it's not how it works. You know, you don't have to be perfect every single second. I think now we're willing to put ourselves out there and for what we believe in. And I think it's inspiring others. And we're all being very brave and courageous and taking a stand in what might be lost and what's important to us, you know.
I mean, even names, you know, something as simple as names. I remember my mom telling my mom on my mom's side, we're all Italian too, and my grandmother, my maternal grandmother, it was 5 sisters, and they all had super Italian names, like very hardcore Italian, like Josefina and Serafina. And when they started school in New York, New Jersey, I'm not sure which one, the schools made them change their names because they were told that they were too Italian, that no one would know how to pronounce them. So they had to pick American names to go to school. And now, I mean, you see so many, you know, interesting cultural, you know, ethnic names that no one cares. Like, you'll figure it out. You will figure out how to pronounce my name. I promise you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's true. I'm working on one project. It's called Pieces of Aloha, and the author, his father was a Sicilian American, and he was stationed at Pearl Harbor at the time it happened. And it's a documentary, and his father, Salvador Recusa, he was in charge of an all-black platoon because they didn't consider Italian Americans to be white. And because of that, Gordon is trying to reconstruct the platoon of his father, his troop that he was in charge of. And you really can't unless they're on the injured or killed list. There was no records of them actually serving because they weren't considered.
Wow.
I understand exactly what you're talking about. I've been involved with this project for 2.5 years, and it's heartbreaking. It really is. So really your life has no value because you're not considered white. And I think it just inflames me. And maybe that's why I maybe have Scandinavian, and my dad even has some English, obviously from the islands, you know. And it's hard for me to identify. It is so hard for me because I know if I go there, which I will probably in 2020, is I have to teach in Scotland. I'll probably, you know, kind of just hop over and go and see Scandinavia. But I mean, my maternal grandfather was highly prejudiced. So, you know, and that was not too long ago. I mean, so it's hard to recognize. I don't mean to hold all of the Caucasian, you know, ethnicity responsible for what some of them did, but it's so hard sometimes, especially when you're working on active projects like Pieces of Aloha, where it makes it real in this moment, even though it happened so long ago. Because I have Sicilian friends in Chicago, and they're the most amazing people, but I don't even see color. So anyone that would discriminate against them just inflames me. I get angry. And then I have to
yeah. Yes, exactly. Wine break.
Just saying, you know, it's this whole color thing. I don't understand it, but I mean, just like growing up 70s and 80s, and you know, you're called a frog, you know, what, her eyes are so big, she looks like an alien, you know, and then all of a sudden now it's like amazing to be, you know, exotic. Oh my God, what are you? It's like, are you kidding me? Oh, now all of a sudden I'm desirable. Okay. How does that happen?
It almost feels like in France in the 1920s, there was this obsession with the quote unquote exotic. Like Josephine Baker is the prime example of that, where here in the States, when she was touring, she couldn't get any good clubs. She couldn't get any good work. She goes over to France and she's Beyonce. And that's really what ended up happening. And she was this superstar in France. And then she'd come back over to visit and she was treated like a second-class citizen. Meanwhile, in France, she's treated like royalty because, and at the same time, they had this obsession with what was different from their regular French look,
Yes.
and different from the whiteness. And maybe in some ways it's part of the growing, where now we're at this point where diversity is the key word for everything you do, in whether it's social media or event. It's fantastic. Do not get me wrong. I love it. I think it's fantastic. I love seeing the rainbow of people who add art. But I think we're now at this point where we're really there's a love affair of different people. And
I love, because hopefully that means there's some sort of acceptance for
yes,
something that's slightly different than you.
mm-hmm.
And I think if we can get there, we could be one again.
Yes.
You know, or for the first time, maybe, I don't know, but it'd be wonderful. You know,
Mm-hmm.
really would be.
Yes, and tell us about the movie, because I have been seeing stills from this movie, and tell us about it. It looks so much fun.
Well, I did it because I wanted a fight reel, and I wanted to show the Lua throughout the entire movie, which would be historic. That's never been done before. And I thought, what an honor for me to be asked and have this opportunity. How can you say no? Well, it's literally a 3-hour drive south in Alpine, California. So very far, 3 hours each way. And I just made it through that very difficult wedding scene. Because as we discussed as I was driving home, I'm victorious in divorce. So to actually think about walking down the aisle again, I'm just clearly not ready. I mean, acting is interesting. I'm more of a fight actress than an actress. And to have to force myself to feel things like walking down the aisle, it is acting, because I do not want to be there for anything. That's the runaway bride photo you saw.
I saw that. That was the best. That's how.
And that was just when I first took off. I was in full stride. Lisa, my videographer friend, she has like clips of me just gone. And, but also like the TV show I'm working on, having to put a butt of a gun into a woman's cheek and call her names and then shoot her. It's like I'm taking on different roles. And the movie's interesting because it's got a supernatural aspect to it. And there's some really old school looking field fight scenes. So I think anyone that loves the circle of death, and those classic, fight scenes, they're going to get this in this movie. And so, I'll have some fun. We have some fun, like bloopers and stuff. So that's good. But hopefully, they'll be done. I hopefully have my last scene on the 17th, where I fight 12 guys. So that's going to be pretty, in heels. So
that's like the ultimate Ginger Rogers right there.
It's going to be pretty fun. Only we're making contact, so it's kind of fun. It makes it, and definitely it's real. I have to pull my punches though, but that's okay. I still make contact. And you think of Bruce Lee, he hurt his back and then he started writing. Otherwise he wouldn't have. And then he got into media and he was able to spread his art that way through film and TV. And he reached many more people than he would have just having 15 students in his basement in Oakland, so while some people in Hawaii can say that it's not supposed to be spread like this, it's supposed to be held secret and kapu, forbidden, and showed to only certain types of people. Well, if we were hard and fast to those rules, I wouldn't be talking about this right now because I'd be untrained. Woman and mixed. Oh my gosh, no, I would never have the privilege. So yeah, it's going to be kind of fun to watch that. I'm terrified of the premiere. I mean, you just never know, right? So
you should be proud of that. That's awesome. I mean, how many people can say they have the opportunity to be in a movie, to star in a movie? And it's so exciting. And I mean, you should be proud of that. Don't be afraid or embarrassed by it. That's awesome.
Thank you.
I'd be like, how many tickets can I get for the premiere? I have people that need to come.
Oh no, trust me. I mean, Diana, you should come. Michelle, if you're in town, yeah, you should come. I'll buy your tickets. No,
I will definitely come. I will. You let me know when it is, and
I would
I
love
will
that.
be there. I will be there with bells on.
You don't need them.
Going, I know her.
We go way back.
Oh, it's pretty funny.
So, and then you also have, you said 3 books that you're working on, or are they already done and just pending publication?
No, you know.
I feel your pain. I feel your pain, woman. Yeah.
All right. So in honor of my Alohe and also a Filipino master said, there's really no fundamentals. Your Alohe has a book and it's going for like $6.86 on Amazon used right now because it's out of publication. So I'm trying to raise funds to do a second publication, but his is more of like a police manual. He's showing in stills how you do a technique, and it has the history of the art, this family history and his history. And I was lucky enough to be in that. And that was released in June of 2006. But there's really no book out there on the fundamentals, like 101, class on what animals we're showing, how we combine all of those. What does the man, the bottom half of the body, do to carry the woman, the upper part of the body, with the kids and the grandkids? So everyone has a job, like Lilo and Stitch, right? No one gets left behind. Everyone, so the kids protect the mom. The kids go out and they do damage, they protect, and they come home and they report back to mom while the dad moves the mother around, the mother and the kids. So there's nothing setting out the basic animals, the basic strikes, traps, blocks, breaks, dislocations, the types of kicks, which were modeled after the pig, the pua'a. It's a lot of stomping kicks, power kicks that will hurt joints mostly, not soft tissue. But there are, soft tissue moves. And so there's nothing out there. So I'm doing that, the fundamentals of the Kaivalulua. Then there's it was weird. I mean, someone said, we want a calendar in Germany. I was like, oh, okay, I'll shoot a couple things. And then it turned into this project. Like most things that us women do, we get led. And, we're not out of control. We're just open to how we're being directed. And so now it's turned into, I wanted to turn it into a Hawaiian weaponry, beautiful image book, like a cocktail book almost. Hard copy, have the history of the weapon, what was made out of, how many shark teeth, when it was used, what sort of warriors used it, what time of battle it was used, like deployment, how we cared for the weapons, all of that, the historical, not just me holding the weapon. And it ended up turning out to be some sort of 300 Spartan bronzed red, holding the weapons. And then it was too much. So now I've scaled back. And so it just needs to be released. It just needs to be put together and released. And then the last one is there's a huge desire for the Divine Feminine workbook and book and a 2-day workshop. And so that should be happening in Zurich in May. And so I have some time. I already obviously have a lot of my thoughts together, and I'm teaching it already, but not just in like a full 2-day workshop, and go in between movement and then movement lecture. So not everyone's exhausted and shut down by the time I get to the lecturing, or they're not asleep by the time we get to the movement. So keeping it interesting for us interesting women. So so that really, I think, there'll be sayings and photos and just encouragement to become who we were born and who we agreed to be when we came here. Because my metaphysician said to me, like, it was pretty profound, because we can even think back on like a situation that happens and we bring it into this moment when really only this moment exists, if you think of it of energy. And he just said to me, what if before you came here in physical form, you were showed what you were going to endure here, what the struggles, the illnesses, the whatever, and it flashed in front of you and you said, okay, I agree to do it? Would you be blaming other people for what has gone on? And I think if we really sit in that and we think, wow, when something happens, you can actually, I have goosebumps right now.
Me too. That gave me chills.
You can actually say, what am I trying to tell myself right now? So it's nothing external anymore, because everything is in out. If we can look at it that way, we come to peace with all of our past in a split second and all that we're dealing with now. And it helps us deal with whatever is going to be presented to us in the future. And when we know inherently we're going to be okay, that we agreed to do this, that we need to clean up some karma, we need to move forward. This is about progress and becoming all that we were gifted to be. We have talents, we develop those, but there's these inherent gifts that we have. And until we really make peace with everything and accept that and welcome it, embrace everything, even the craziness, even the darkness we have in us, that is there for a reason. So we can use that and move forward. So yeah, pretty neat stuff. I can't wait to work on that book. I think there'll be some healing for me too there also.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's always stuff that comes up, even if it's a residual, then it still needs to be looked at and released, you know. So maybe I'll be even better next time we talk.
I feel that books and writing, for me, it's a form of therapy because you put it all on the paper. I was going through and Michelle knows what I was going through when I was writing my first book that I'm trying to get published. Just there were days where it was just like, I can't deal with these emotions myself. So I put it on the paper. I put it into the work itself,
Right.
and I can walk away and leave it there. And that's, and so, yeah, I love this idea of, the divine feminine in the book. And it's like, because I mean, I'm assuming that the divine feminine is part of your teaching that you do already in the workshops.
Yeah. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. A lot of visualization. I mean, even going through, I don't know how much time we have, but
Mm-hmm.
it's so powerful that I ask the women to close their eyes. I turn off the lights. And they're in whatever position. Usually I want them just imprinted onto the mats, right? Just everything's just super heavy and just.
Oh, we can do that now. Yeah, let's. Yeah. We can close our eyes. We can't have the lights off, but we can close our eyes. We can do.
Yeah, and then all of us would be snoring right
now. Okay.
But I asked them to pull up one, not all, but one incident where you felt it could have turned out differently. And if you could go back, you would change them, the situation, whatever. But I asked them to pull into mind the scent of the season, what their hair looked like, what they ate, what they were wearing, to get them right into that moment. And I asked them to go through the situation from afar, watching themselves and watching you get up or out of that situation and walking away safely, but then turning around to see that person walk away and wishing them well and thanking them for being a tool in your evolution. And then I asked them to switch now to the vision of their own face in their mind. And they do. And then we go through a self-forgiveness at that moment. And there's just, some women get up and they leave. Some are just, they sit up. Some are bawling. Some are silently quiet, bawling. But some are outwardly wailing. And they at that moment, they're looking at themselves and they're forgiving themselves for how they feel they contributed and how they feel that they could have stopped it, and the what ifs and the what if I should. And of course you've effed it. It's you always, that predator we hear constantly, that just sucks all energy out of us and physically makes us ill. Then our stomach gets in a knot. Then we have a headache. Then the wrong people get the energy when we have to expend it. But to actually get into yourself and envision your face with your eyes closed, that you're talking to yourself, is so powerful. It's just, and at that moment, I think the women really connect with them. They're no longer, their spirit's not floating outside of their body. It's back in their body, and they're having that moment with themselves. So I hope that that's the first of many, that, not dealing with something actually kills us, instead of thinking that, if I deal with that, I just can't, oh my God. And I get that some things are really difficult, but the more we do it, the easier it becomes. And so it's that sort of envisionment that we do during the workshop, and then we do an affirmation at the end where it's, I am power, and they're electrically breathing and they're sunken into the mat. They've taken inventory from their head down to their toes. Everything is relaxed. I am flowing power. I am one with the universe. I'm one with myself without condition or judgment. I mean, they go through this and we spend like, 30 seconds on each one. So they really embrace who they are and they really embrace what's supposed to be coming out of them. So yeah, sorry to go on and on. It's
I love it. It's fantastic.
It's pretty amazing.
Yes. And I'm like, I want to know now do you have a website so that people can see when your next workshops will be?
Yeah, but it needs to be updated like everything. So it's just it's michellemanu.com, and unfortunately the calendar's from like last year, so I need to fix that.
Okay, because we can direct people to there, or we can direct people to your in social media, wherever you want us to direct people to.
Wherever.
Because I mean, I love this, and I love connecting to the divine feminine and implying that, because I feel like there is that shift in our society where we're able, it's more encouraged now.
I agree.
From the women's marches to the fact that on Tuesday we elected over 100 women, and it's, and not to sound too political or anything, and it wasn't just in one party. It wasn't just the Democratic Party. It was also in the Republican Party, and that's something that I took away on both sides. If a woman was running, she did well. And even in Stacey Abrams, she wasn't quite at the 50%, but she ran a good race and she was close.
Yes.
That wasn't a blowout. And I think that's just really powerful, and it really says something about our society that
I love it.
We can elect women. We see them in leadership positions now. And that's so wonderful.
I agree.
Well, that was a really fast hour.
It really was the hour?
Yeah, like literally like 3 minutes. I think that was the fastest hour we've ever had on the show.
It was a great hour. I was enjoying it. I was thinking we were just at like the 45 minutes.
No, I just opened, I get like an email notification saying Wine Women and Words is live. And I just like opened it up to see what time, just to do a time check. And I was like, oh no. Okay.
Will you do part 2? I don't know.
So the takeaways from this is Chicago workshop.
Okay.
But please keep us posted on everything you're doing, and you have to come back.
Oh, I'd love to. Thank you.
Yes, we have to have you back on. Absolutely love you. And I mean, I was describing you to Michelle One as Wonder Woman. So
no, not at all. I don't know. I think, there's work to do, and I feel like I have limited time. It's hard to explain. I think there's just limited time. So it's time now in society, even though the work started years ago, and my preparedness was started many, many decades ago. Now's the time. So there's no excuse, and no one's going to get in my way. I hate to say that. I'm not my daughter, not my grandkids, not any guy I'm dating. It's not going to be like that. So this is my life purpose. And I feel very strongly led to continue the work. I'm not alone. There are other women out there doing similar work like both of you, that are getting the word out there and empowering others. And I hate that word too at the same time, like we were disempowered before. But,
no, I think we were. I think that there was a point in history, and not just world history and American history, where we were disempowered. For a woman to be anything more than a wife and a mother within her home, to be in the tech field, to even write a book. You couldn't write a book under your own name. Mary Shelley had to publish Frankenstein anonymously, and for years they thought her husband wrote it. To scientists, there's one whose name I'm forgetting, but I remember her story distinctly. She had to lie, and she had to break the rules in order to work on her Nobel Prize winning experiment. And I think she basically had to get married because her husband was also another scientist, so that they could live in the dorms together and live in this one area together just to study. So there was a time, even in, we haven't even reached 100 years yet for where women could vote. So we were disempowered. And so I feel that for me, the word empowerment and empowering is a very powerful word. Like a better term, because we are finding our voice. We're coming to a point in society where we are becoming far more equal than we were before.
Agree. And I love it. I honestly, I didn't think I'd see it in my lifetime. So I'm really grateful, just to see this happening. Yeah. Calling everyone to wake up, keep walking. Let's go. Start marching.
Yeah, we just keep going. Just like Dory, just keep swimming.
That's funny. Oh my gosh.
There have been like 4 Disney references this episode. I love it.
4 besides Lilo and Stitch and Dory. What were the other 2? Oh, Moana.
Okay, 3. Moana,
yeah, 3.
That's
I mean,
so
we could
funny.
throw another one in.
I just posted about Life is Not a Disney Movie like 2 days ago. I knew we were talking about Disney.
I'm sorry, my life is totally like a Disney movie. However, it's not like Snow White. See, there's our 4. I can't get my pets to actually clean my house for me. Sometimes
if you figure that out, please do let me know.
Yeah, sometimes
I have a hard enough time getting my kids to put their toys away.
I'll let you know. Right now, it kind of feels like Sorcerer's Apprentice, but there's 5. After Mickey loses control of the brooms and everything's just flooding and things are going crazy around the master's workshop, that's kind of my world.
The Mad Laboratory, yes.
Yes. If you could see behind me, and you can't really see because of the camera, but yeah, I've just got piles of books right now because I'm doing some reorganization. And there's a reason why you guys don't see my office closet anymore.
More of a library. Just call it what it is.
It is. It is my personal library. And there's crafts and books and I think some empty shoe boxes.
Those are always handy.
They are, aren't they? You never know what you can put in them.
Well, so our book of the month, we haven't mentioned it at all this episode. That's okay, though. Yeah. It's A Narrow Bridge by J.J. Gesher. And full disclosure, I thought I read a couple of chapters, and I'm looking at where I am. And actually, I read the prologue. Okay. So Diana and I have not gotten into it yet, but we will by next week to be able to have a discussion about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we will talk about it.
So everyone keep reading. We'll be up to speed with you guys by next week, we promise. Mm-hmm. And Michelle, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us. We had so much fun with you.
Oh, thank you. I know I kept you from your book review. So
no.
Like I said, I'm not even through the first chapter yet. That's how bad my week has been. It's been all NaNoWriMo all week long. Which, speaking of that, Michelle, what's your word count? We're Billy buddies.
I'm at 4,600, I think.
Okay, I'm gonna put that in the show notes. In case have you heard of National November Writers Month, Michelle?
No.
Okay, so every year during the month of November, the NaNoWriMo is a challenge to write a 50,000 word book during the month of November from the 1st to the 30th.
Wow, how cool.
You have to write 1,600 words a day.
Yeah.
I've been able to do it twice, and I've got a second book that I'm working on right now, and I've been dragging my feet on my first draft, so I'm plan on picking it up. I'm trying to finish the first draft this month.
How cool.
And I've got a long way to go, and Michelle won there. She has been trying to work on the first draft of a book for herself as well.
Good.
So she's using this as a way to motivate.
Yeah. I can see that's motivating. It's a challenge. It's like a challenge,
It is.
It's a promise you keep to yourself. So that's great. Good.
And I made a list of like 10 New Year's resolutions on January 1st, 2018. fulfilled not one of them, but if I write 1,000 words a day for the next 2 months nonstop, I will finish this book. And that was one of my goals. So
Good.
got to do it.
Yeah.
Yep. So I'm helping to push her to finish her book.
Well, if you need a publisher, I know an amazing woman, so I can send you her info.
We'll always take it.
She's amazing. 40
Won't
years.
they know?
Okay, I'll pass it along.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank
Well,
you.
thank you
sorry,
so much for joining us. It was such a wonderful hour, and I love talking with you. I mean, you were always one of the women at OCPA that I always looked up to.
Aw,
So it's nice to be able to talk in this setting too, and to keep up with all the wonderful things that you do.
Oh, thank you for having me.
My pleasure.
All right, everyone. I hope everyone has a good night and keep reading, and we'll see you guys next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye.